Hello, friend. Henry Flowers here. Powerful Living Outreach Ministries coming to you over the airwaves of YouTube. Jumping right into it today, talking about no jazz Jews and lessons learned. No jazz Jews and lessons learned. If you have the book of Philippians, you can turn there if you'd like. So it was a 4 a.m. pickup. I'm going to pick up passengers and take them to the airport, and I pull up to my passengers at 4 a.m. to my passenger stop and stop in front of the Jewish synagogue. And I'm waiting for my passengers to come out. I got a little smooth jazz going. No big deal. I don't make a lot of noise when it comes to my music and my rides. Just got a little smooth jazz going on at a nice moderate volume. And two brothers open up the car door with their bags, and they got the little Jewish hats on and little Jewish black coats on, and looking dapper. They ready to go. And I say, "Good morning." And they say, "Good morning." And they get in the car and they say, "Can you turn the music off?" I said, "Excuse me?" Now let's stop right there. Okay, first of all, this is just maybe a cultural thing, but I just want to let folks know, if you say something very clearly and then somebody says, "Excuse me," that's not an indicator that they didn't hear you. Usually what that means is they're asking you to repeat what you just said, or to see if you want to repeat what you just said. And I do that often because sometimes it's good just to let people hear themselves say it again. I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Can you turn the music off?" I can turn the music off, I said. Is there a reason? He said, "Yeah, we only listen to Jewish music." So I paused and I thought about what my next comment might be, because, there are times where I just let stuff ride and I just go with the flow, and just, the part of me that is just contrarian and a trailblazer and doesn't mind questioning the question. Sometimes that part of me just takes a back seat and I just go with the flow. This wasn't one of those times. Nope. So I said, after he said we only listen to Jewish music, I said, "You do know that there's 3 of us in this business relationship?" He said, "Excuse me?" I said, "There are 3 of us in this business relationship." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "You, your Jewish brother there, and myself, we are in a business relationship." He says, "Okay." I said, "I appreciate that you only listen to Jewish music. Do you care what I want?" Now, did I tell y'all this is 4 a.m.? So the reason why that might be important, because, at 4 a.m., even though I usually only start driving at 4 a.m., these people needed a ride to the airport, and I would have had to leave at 3:30 in order to get to where they were going. So that cut into some of my quiet time. So I usually have quiet time from about 3 to about 3:30, 3:45, and then we usually start driving. So it's possible that because my quiet time had gotten a little cut short, maybe this is why I choose not to let this situation fly by without me enjoying it thoroughly. But just be that as it may, I'm just saying, this part of me deciding to, just in that moment, because this wasn't something I planned. Obviously, this wasn't something I knew was about to happen. But just in that moment, I just chose to insert myself into this business transaction. Do you care what I want? His response, yes. I said, thank you for that. So here's what I will do. Because I can turn off the music, but since there are 3 of us in this business transaction, and we got a 22-minute ride ahead of us, what I can do so that you won't have to listen to music that you don't want to hear, I will put on my headset. Do you feel safe with me driving you to the airport with me wearing my headset? His response, yes. So I put on my headset and I began to drive. Got about 10 minutes into the ride and we get to I-75 South, complete stop on the highway. Oh, I'm talking about complete stop at 4 a.m. in the morning. Oh, we're talking about police, ambulance, fire, flares, the whole bit. And traffic has backed up. This is interesting. Traffic backed up just enough that I could stay where I was, because these are the things that I think about in just a half a second. See, I could stay where I was and just see how long it takes to open up the traffic again. Or I had just enough room to get off onto I think that was the 5th Street exit. And just because of my experience, I've been doing this for a little while, I knew that I could take this exit, whip around, dip around, jump around, and be right back on the other bridge and just be boom. And they would be safe and not have to miss their flight. Because this is a full stop on the highway. Traffic is stopped. Nobody's getting through. And I don't know how long it's going to be. So I sat there in that moment and I said to myself, I can choose to, in this moment, think about only what I want. Because only I-75 is what I normally do to get to the airport. I only take I-75. I thought about that in that second. Should I be like my Jewish brothers who just jumped in the car and said, we only listen to Jewish music, and say to myself, well, I only drive I-75 to get to the airport? Should I do that? Should I be petty? I mean, sometimes my petty vein is pumping a little harder than other times, and maybe this wasn't one of those times, but I decided that I'm going to get off. And I'm going to get on the other road and dip and jump and swerve around and make sure, because I really want them to make their flight. So I do that. We are on our way to the airport, regardless of the full stop on the highway. I don't know how long it took other people to get through, but it wasn't me. I had a place to go. I had to drop my passengers off at the airport. So, as we pull up to the airport station after about a 20-minute ride, and my 2 gentlemen back there sat back there quietly the entire ride. It was amazing. They sat back there quietly and didn't make noise at all, other than I heard them whispering for about 10 seconds. They whispered something one to the other. Other than that, they were very quiet, just sitting back there listening to each other breathe. While I bipped and bopped on my smooth jazz. As we pulled up to the airport, I said, well, gentlemen, in spite of a complete stop on the highway, I have gotten you here safely to the airport in plenty enough time for you to make your flight. They both said thank you at the same time. They said thank you. I said, oh, you're welcome. May I make a suggestion? They said, yes. I said, in the future, if we ever cross paths again, or if you ever have any future ride share opportunities, I want you to consider this. Instead of asking the driver to just turn the music off so that you only get to hear what you like, it says, I want to recommend that you instead say, hey, driver, could you play Jewish music? And I paused. And I heard, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I said, yes. I said, had you done that, two things would have happened. I said, first thing would have happened, I would have said, hey, computer, play Jewish music. And in a half a second, my phone clicked in and started playing Jewish music. And this beautiful music filled the car. It was amazing, bro. I just sat there and sat with it for a few seconds. I had no idea what they were saying, but they said it and sang it beautifully. And so these guys said, oh, that was amazing. I didn't know you could do that. I said, yeah. So two things would have happened. One thing is that you would have gotten a chance to listen to your Jewish music on this ride. And I, secondly, would have enjoyed a deep dive into your culture. They paused and sat with it. They said, thank you for that. I'll do that next time. I said, I hope you will, brothers. Have a good trip. Safe travels. Shalom. He turned and looked, and he said, Shalom. So they get out. They're hustling, getting their bags. I'm just sitting there getting ready to end their ride, and he comes by to my passenger window and taps on my window. Yes, sir. How can I help you? May I give you something? I said, sure. What would you like to give me? He hands me a card. These are some of the things that we, in our culture, have grown to learn in order to create peace. To create peace. I said, well, I consider myself a man of peace. Let me have it. Here it is. Gave it to me. Picture of their rabbi on the back. It's got all kind of information on there. And it says, the 7 universal laws, the way to true peace. You familiar with this? You familiar with this? Anybody here familiar with this? You got to hear this. This is really good. Because for me, I tend to be open, which is the reason why my phone was able to quickly play Jewish music, because I had Jewish music in my library. And that's always been me. I've always been open to other cultures and other experiences. And so when it comes to music, I've always had a wide palette. And so with the Jewish music, I've always enjoyed other cultures and learning, because I wanted to learn what people learned, and learn about Jews and Muslims and atheists and, Latter-day Saints, Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to know what people thought about my faith. Wanted to know about their faith, and when you start delving into those things, you learn more and more about their culture too, and along with that culture comes music. I didn't know this. This is interesting right here. So it says, I'll read this very quickly. The 7 universal laws, the way to true peace. Number one, believe in one God. So this word God is capital G. Is that a hyphen, or maybe it's just a dit or a dot, whatever you want to call it? G hyphen dot D. So they don't include the word. I think it's because in their culture they believe that God's name is so holy it shouldn't be mentioned. Just from what I think I remember. So the first one is believe in one God. And then sub-sentence is reject any form of idol worship. Number two, honor God. It says do not blaspheme. Number three, preserve human life. Do not murder. These are pretty clear. I would say these are certainly ways to true peace. Number four, respect family relationships. Now, under this is do not commit adultery, incest, homosexuality, etc. I find that one very interesting. Number five, respect property. Do not steal. Number six, respect God's creatures. Do not eat the flesh of any animal that is still alive. I'm definitely with them on that. Okay, we're good. And number seven, finally, establish honest courts and a just legal system. I think that's a good way to create peace. I'm all for that. Now, I find this very interesting. And I don't know a lot about the Jewish culture. Just from what I do know, my limited knowledge on it, I know that they do not believe that Jesus of Nazareth, as he died on the cross, they do not believe that he was Messiah. They do not believe that the Messiah has yet come. They wait for Messiah. They believe he is coming. They don't believe that Jesus of Nazareth, who died under Pontius Pilate, was Messiah. They still study the law of Moses, which is the Torah, the Old Testament, New Testament. I don't want to talk about that. And so they have rabbis, and this is a picture of their rabbi. They call him the rabbi. It's spelled Rebbe, and his name is King Moshiach. That's the best I can do, y'all. Okay, and get some information about him. I would say that this is their leader. I don't really know a lot about it. Here's what I do know. I do know that, maybe I just think this. Here's what strikes me about this scenario. When I talk about lessons learned, what I learned from this scenario is one of the questions I had is, why would they not be the most evangelical people on the planet? If they believe, if the Jewish culture or the Jewish faith believes that they are the chosen people of God, and that they believe that Messiah is going to return before the end of days, and they certainly believe in eternal damnation and eternal judgment, I would think they would be the most evangelical people on the planet and be looking for opportunities to win people to their faith. So let's start with that. Maybe it's just me, but for me, if you have anything that you would like for me to receive from you or be interested in a conversation with you about, the first thing you can't do is come across as that thing is the most important thing to you. We only listen to Jewish music. So what could that say to me? Just if I was the kind of person who would believe this stuff. If I come in and you hear smooth jazz playing, and you say, can you turn that off? I only listen to Jewish music. Now, just me, my first thought, because I'm hyper analytical, my first thought was, how do they know that this musician is not a Jewish person? How do they know that? Because I do have a lot of artists in my playlist, and I can think of at least 2 saxophonists that are Jewish. Now, they may not be Orthodox Jews and practicing their faith, but nonetheless. So, turn it off. We only listen to Jewish music. So for me, it says, we want what we want. Now, just starting right here, my first lesson learned was that the lesson that they learned. In this relationship, when you getting in my car, this is actually my car. Yeah. And the music that I'm playing is actually for me. I don't have it turned on real loud. I put it on 6. Number 6, I put it on 6. That's just over the course of my time. I've been doing this about 6 years. And I just noticed if it's on 6, it's low enough for people to talk in the back seats and not be disturbed by it. And it's high enough for me to be able to hear it and drive. And not be distracted by their conversation. Or possibly not even hear their conversation. So I got it set on 6 and I got some smooth jazz. Most of the time I'm playing smooth jazz. Sometimes I play oldies, sitting on the dock of the bay, little, just old school stuff like that. But most of the time it's smooth jazz. So for me, if somebody comes into my car and says, turn the music off, and just trust me, there was no please. Please will get you a long way. But just coming in my car and saying, can you turn the music off? That's usually not going to make you sound like an unselfish or loving person. And I ain't super sensitive. I think I got a pretty thick skin. I don't know. But just first of all, you occur to me as selfish. That's why I asked, is there a reason you need me to turn my music off? That's first thing. So the first lesson learned was, I think they learned the lesson that this is my car and we are in a business relationship. I am not your employee. Yes, you booked the ride with this certain company that I won't name because they don't pay me to advertise. Yeah, you booked a ride with them, but this is a 3-way business relationship. You pay them, they pay me to use my car and my skills to come and pick you up and take you to your destination. So therefore, when you get into my vehicle, you don't come in calling shots. Unless you just want to be a jerk. And be selfish. So this be my car. Here's the amazing thing about it. The amazing thing about it was, when it's number 7, it says, respect property. The number 7 on here says, respect property. My Jewish brother, what's up? How come you can't respect my property? It's my car. They didn't make a real big deal about it, and they were nice about it. So, at least nice about what I wanted to share with them. But that part right there was interesting for me. And then, so another lesson learned. I just think if we are supposed to be loving people and supposed to be trying to reach people through love, because I think love is the best way to create peace. And I think that one lesson that I've learned is that the most loving people that I've ever met have been the most selfless people. They don't put their needs and desires first. They don't. You can go through 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and you can there's a list of all of the things that love is, what love does and doesn't do. And I love it that most of those things in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 points to actions. Because love is an action. Love is a verb. And it talks about things that love doesn't do. Love does not seek its own way. In some of our relationships, man, we have miserable, short-term, controversy-filled, tense relationships because either one person or both people are just selfish. All you're going after most of the time is what you want. The things that happen most of the times are the things that you want to do. That just does not bode well, in my experience, for a loving relationship. I could really spend a lot of time on this, just thinking about this situation with the two brothers. But here's one thing that I hope I did do. One thing that I hope I did do, I hope I helped these guys. What's a way to put it? I hope I helped them see themselves. Because it's possible that this is a habit that they've had, and as soon as they get in the car, they say, hey, turn the music off. I hope that somehow in those moments, that something that I said, especially when I created possibilities for the future, that they learned something. Hey, you know what? This could be an opportunity for somebody else to experience our culture. Because possibly, if you're of the Jewish faith, like if you want to try to win somebody, like why would you wait until you leaving to give me this? How come the whole 22-minute ride couldn't have been about this? Because I would love to have taken a deeper dive into their culture and tell me about these 7 laws. How come 5 of them sound like the 10 commandments and 2 sound like something else? How come you don't use the O in the word God? I would love to have had these questions answered. Who is this guy? Tell me about your faith and how it's juxtaposed with the Christian faith, because I'm a Christian. I would love to have done this. But somehow this took a back seat. And we spent 20 minutes with them just back there listening to each other breathe. You know what else I learned? I used to be that guy. Yep. I used to be that guy. Man, when I first got saved, let me tell you something, brother. I was you've heard this term, you so heavenly bound, you know earthly good. That was me. Like, when I would go around people, when I first got saved, first came to know Jesus, that's right. Hey, whoa, hey, if you don't mind, man. Hey, listen, don't cuss around me. Don't cuss. Yeah, I'm a Christian. Don't cuss around me. I'm not even joking. I'm not proud of this. I'm trying to share something. Please don't laugh at me. I mean, you can laugh if it's funny, but don't laugh at me. Don't feel, like I'm a bad person. No, I used to be this way. Because it's like, I don't listen to, I definitely was that dude. Hey, I don't listen to secular music, man. Hey, can you turn it off? I just want to, I don't listen to secular music. I only listen to gospel music. It's all about me and what I need. Forget about what the person needs. Because if they listen in the gospel music, smoking cigarettes? Oh, man, please. Use a cigarette sucking devil. Don't smoke that cigarette around me. You are defiling your temple. God don't like that. Man, I used to go door to door witnessing, man, and just beat people over the head with the word. Bust them upside the head. Repent, you cigarette-sucking devil. You are defiling God's... Oh, you supposed to be a Christian too? You going to hell. I just can't imagine how unloving I appeared to those people. I don't know. And just suffice it to say that my methods have changed over the years. Because I delved into the scriptures, and if you haven't already, let's read through this really quickly. In Philippians chapter 2, this is the Apostle Paul writing a letter to the church of Philippi. And in chapter 2, I'll be reading from the Common English Bible. And the title of this particular passage is Imitate Christ. As believers in Jesus Christ, that's really what we should be doing. Imitating Christ in everything that we do, like for real though, like everywhere. Like not just on Sunday, where you imitate Christ. People do a good job of imitating Christ on Sunday. But man, some things happen sometimes, Monday through Saturday, where people show up just differently. And these things ought not to be so. So he says, imitate Christ is the title of this passage. in Philippians chapter 2. Let's see. All right, we'll start from verse 1. Paul writes, "Therefore, if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort in love, any sharing in the Spirit, any sympathy, complete my joy by thinking the same way, having the same love, being united and agreeing with each other. Don't do anything for selfish purposes, but with humility, think of others as better than yourselves. Instead of each person watching out for their own good, watch out for what is better for others." Now that'll preach. I'm just thinking about the days when I was young in Christ, and I actually thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was putting God first in everything when I was telling people, don't cuss around me. When I was telling people, don't smoke cigarettes around me. You just turn that secular music off. I only listen to gospel music. How you going to get in somebody else's car or get in somebody else's house and tell them to turn their music off? Boy, you got a lot of nerve. That's like, I don't really know. That's a little bit different than selfishness. That takes a little bit of audacity. To some degree, anyway, I would think. But definitely, that does not sound like somebody who is doing what Paul said in this passage, where he says, instead of watching out for your own good and the thing that you want, check out what the other person wants and see what they want. Some of your relationships struggling? Here's my key to a loving relationship, marriage. Here's what a loving marriage should look like, if I could describe it in a sentence. A loving marriage should be two people who are competing to outserve the other. I know you've had a hard day. But how about after your hard day, instead of just crashing and melting into the floor and doing what you want, how about just push through and begin to serve your wife, husbands? How about in a conversation when things might be getting a little tense because you feel like you aren't being heard, how about you push back your desire to be heard and just listen? And let the other person be heard for as long as it takes. And then listen with the intent not to respond to what they've said, but listen with the intent to repeat what they've said. And how about instead of while they're talking, and they may be saying something that you don't like, it's making you mad because you're having a tough discussion. This is what happens in relationships. So how about instead of picking up your phone and acting like you're not paying attention, how about pick up your phone and make notes on what they're saying? And then when they finish speaking, you say, so just so I'm clear on this, because I was writing notes, I just want to repeat. You feel like when this happens, it makes you feel this way. And you also said this, and that. And you said, when I do this, it makes you feel like that. Have I heard you correctly? And that person will say, yes. That's the beginning of a beautiful relationship where you have the opportunity to put the other person's needs first. I think that's what Christ is calling us to do. when he says, don't do anything for selfish purposes. He says, don't be selfish. I can't think of many scenarios where if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, that your drive and your goal in that scenario is to get what I want. This is about me. I got to get what I want out of this situation. I didn't have a problem with just turning the music off because I've done that before. I can just remember times where people have gotten into the car. I remember one lady specifically, she got into the car and she said, hey, if you don't mind, can you turn the music off? I have to make a phone call and it's a business call and blah, blah, blah. I said, absolutely, no problem. If you don't mind. I don't even need nobody to say please. I'm just not that sensitive. You ain't got to be doing all that, right? But if you don't mind, that says, sir, you have an option. That says, sir, I have respect for your property and for your desires and for the things that matter to you. And there's something going on with me that I'd like for you to consider yielding to me. That came across as very loving, very kind and considerate. And with no problem at all, I turned the music off. And when she was done with her phone call, I turned the music back on. I didn't lose anything other than a few minutes. What did I lose by turning the music off for those few minutes so she could make her call? Nothing. I lost the opportunity to be selfish, and I think that's a good thing, because a selfish person would have just ignored that request and just kept on. Adopt, verse 5, it says, adopt the attitude that was in Christ Jesus. I just want more and more for myself to just at least try more and more to adopt the attitude of Jesus Christ. And in my relationships, no matter where they are, I want to not come across as a selfish person. I want to try to be long-suffering with people. I want to try to be generous. I want to try to be accommodating. And most of all, I really want to be a servant. Because if you read through this passage, you'll hear the rest of what Paul has to say in describing Jesus Christ and his ability to be a servant. But not just in person. He's talking about the actions that he took, that Jesus Christ took to show servanthood. I think at some point in our lives, if we're going to live the rich and satisfying life that Jesus said that we can live, then I think that has to become the mark. To where more and more we take on the attitude of Christ, and in every situation, as much as we can, because we ain't going to make it every time. And I don't think Jesus means for you to make it every time. Because he knows that there is one who is perfect, and it is him. But that there's an attitude in us that says, in this opportunity, how can I not be about me? Just in this particular situation, I know my chest is a little tight. I'm a little angry. My jaw's clenched. I'm feeling a little hot and stuff going on, man. And just a little hand shaking. I'm a little frustrated because I feel like I'm not getting what I want in this situation. How about take a deep breath and say to yourself, don't be selfish. You want to talk about the way to create peace? I think the best way to true peace is to become more like the Prince of Peace. And that we take on his attitude. And his way of being becomes our way of being. And no matter how many times we miss it, more and more, we miss it because we were trying to make it. It was at least an effort to not be selfish and to put yourself first. And you missed it this time. But that you change your heart and you examine your heart, and then there you go on this streak of selfless behavior 5, 6, 7 times. And then maybe, okay, you miss it again. I was selfish at that time. But there becomes this pattern and this culture in your life that says, I'm looking for opportunities to not be selfish. And I think more and more we look for opportunities to not be selfish, I think more and more we get it right. And the more we get it right, the more we become like Christ. That should be the goal anyway. Henry Flowers, Powerful Living, Outreach Ministries. I ain't going nowhere. I'm coming back.